Hi guys, welcome back to our channel. I say our channel because usually my husband's joining me. My name's Megan. His name's Dwayne. We are the Blended Family Marriage Coaches, and we are so excited that you're joining us today. I don't know if you guys noticed, you probably don't even recognize me. We finally came out of quarantine enough that I was able to get a haircut. Wait until you guys see him again. He got a haircut also. I'm so excited. Anyways, I am so excited to jump right back in with Mary Whitman Ortiz. We were talking last week about sexual intimacy and the lack of desire in your marriage for that kind of sexual intimacy. And the number one cause of lack of desire. Do you guys remember? Mary's gonna cover it. She actually covered and talked about it in her video we did last week. If you want to check that out, check out this video right here. Usually I'm able to put these videos over Dwayne's head, but without him here, I can't do that. But the number one cause is actually
the number one most common problem for causing low sexual desire is fatigue.
That really does not surprise me. I recently heard that the hardest part of getting, okay, let me back up. So they compared sex to running, to the act of running or working out in the morning or whatever. And the hardest part of doing that is actually getting up and putting your shoes on. And sex is a lot the same way. The hardest part is getting to the act. And once you're there, you enjoy it. And once you're in the moment with your spouse, you enjoy it. But actually thinking of all of it and everything that is coming with it, that's hard. And you're tired and you don't want to, and you just want to go to sleep. And there's so much there. And I think that just made so much sense to me, that you're so tired. You don't want, you know, it's good for you, but you don't want to get up and put on your running shoes to go for a run. And you don't want to go through the act of getting ready for sexual intimacy with your partner. But once you get there, you get all of the rewards from it. You get the rewards from the endorphins. You get the rewards from everything that happens when you do have that intimacy with your spouse, or go for a run if you're following the analogy. But yeah, I can see that. I can see people being too tired and fatigued to do it. That makes sense.
So there it is. You're simply too tired. Do you ever feel that way? In the analogy that I used of working out, there are times when I don't want to get up and get moving. I'm sure there are for you as well. And I feel that way with sex too. But the benefit of getting ready for having intercourse and getting ready to improve the intimacy in your marriage is so worth it. Just as, well, maybe not just as, but you can see it the same way with exercise. If you keep that analogy going, if you exercise often, you'll see the benefits from it. You'll be able to feel the reward from it if you continue to go through that grind of just getting up and putting on your shoes. Sex is a lot the same way. Sex begets sex. If you guys remember in our very first video, I reminded you that intimacy does not equal sex. And yes, intimacy often leads to sex, but being intimate with your partner is really the first step here. If you guys want to check out that very first video, check it out by clicking on this link right here, and make sure that you watch that one fully before you dive into these two, because it will explain a lot more of what we're talking about.
And there are practical ways to address it. Certainly more sleep, but that's not always easy. More water to just, refuel, refresh your entire body. And then I have talked to couples who just change their schedule. They, instead of waiting for the all too common 10:30 at night in bed scenario, they incorporate sex into different times of their day, whether it's in the morning when they're getting ready and it's just a quick experience together, whether they schedule, and I heard you talk about scheduling, an early bedtime one night a week, and say, hey, this is time for us, and that way we know we'll have at least one time together this week.
Something that I tell couples often when I work with them is, if you're too busy for sex, you're too busy. There's no question about it, that if you're too busy to make that a priority, then you're just too busy and something needs to give.
Can you guys see how this exercise analogy can continue into the intimacy and sex analogy here? If you've ever gone on a diet, or maybe a New Year's resolution, or a 90-day fitness plan, you know you have to prioritize that fitness exercise. You have to rearrange your schedule. Maybe you have to wake up a little bit earlier. Maybe you need to change the way that you act after you get off work. Maybe you need to fit it in at lunch. It's the same thing making sex or intimacy with your partner a priority. You sometimes need to rearrange your schedule. You need to schedule it. You need to make it a priority, similar to what you do with exercise. If you're in a slump, that's the first step right there, is to make it a priority, similar to like what you would do if you were creating a new fitness program. I'm not comparing the benefits here. The benefits to adding sex and intimacy to your marriage is 10 times greater than that of exercise or starting a fitness program. I do think that there's benefits in exercise and starting a fitness program, but you will get so much reward from putting your marriage as a priority that you won't even be able to, I can't even put that into words, how amazing it is. You guys, this is a legacy that you're leaving for your children. So making your marriage a priority, scheduling the time for intimacy with your partner, making sure that that's a priority throughout your day is huge. Mary is going to talk more about some of the problems that come up beyond scheduling and beyond just being too busy or too tired.
And usually there's more to it than just their schedule.
Okay, so what are some things that'll play into that?
Well, they will blame that, but it's there are blocks to why don't I want to have sex? Why don't I want to be available? Why do I like the walls that I've been creating? Some of that power struggle that can go on. I mean, those are just deeper things, and it's easier to just say we don't have time than it is to do the work and figure out what's really going on.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Another thing too, and I'd love your opinion on this, something that I teach couples often is that sex begets sex. So when you have it, then you want it again. And you're like, oh, that's right. That's why I enjoyed it. Do you notice that as well?
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I've heard couples say, and it is typically the wife that has the lower sex drive, but that certainly isn't the case in every situation. And so they will, if they can get in the habit of it, as you're talking about, put your shoes on in the morning to go for that run. If they can just get in the habit of it, then their even muscle memory calls them to want to do that again. But with anything, if you put it off and you have any kind of negative connotation with it, then you are resistant. So yes, the more you have it, the more you want to have it.
Right. I have that discussion often with couples, just do it. To take the Nike slogan a little bit further with the tennis shoes, do it. Like it changes everything once you're able to commit and be that intimate with your partner. It really changes a lot of the perspective of what you have about sex, and that sex often begets sex.
And I have one other thing I want to share through the research that was very, very interesting. So we talked about the number one problem regarding sexual intimacy. We've talked about the number one cause for that problem, but
okay, so let's review. The number one cause of lack of intimacy or sex in a marriage is lack of desire. The number one cause of lack of desire is just being too tired. And we broke that up into more of a prioritizing this, how to overcome that, how to address that issue. Now Mary's going to talk about, so what do we expect? What's normal? What are we supposed to be doing here? And so tune in and let's figure that out.
When women specifically are measuring their sex drive to determine whether it's low, whether it's normal, whether it's high, their measurement is their husband, meaning whatever their husband's sex drive or whatever his anticipation of what her sex drive should be, that is the standard that she's using.
Okay, so if a husband expects or wants or desires sexual intimacy 7 times a week, and the wife is lucky if she can muster up the energy to do it once a week, she thinks that her sex drive is low because her husband's is such a high expectation. Is that true in the reverse as well, though? If a husband has the lower sex drive, does the woman feel like there's something wrong with her because she has a higher sex drive, because she's comparing that to her husband?
It does work both ways, because I do have clients who say, I'm different, and why am I like this? And I have different struggles than everybody else does because I want sex more than my husband does. I don't know if he is going through the psychological process and measuring against her. So What I know is that for certain that the women are measuring themselves against their husband's standard. And so now research is diving into that and saying, we need a different measurement.
Right. What is average for women? What is something that most women feel? And yeah, that's true. To measure it to the person with the higher sex drive doesn't make sense. You're never going to compare. You're never going to reach what you expect to be acceptable.
Yeah, there's other studies going on comparing what is arousal, what is desire. Does one play off the other? And even from a physiological standpoint, women are not always as aware when their body is entering into an arousal place, because women process sexual intimacy on more levels typically than men, that if she's not thinking it, then she may not even be aware that her body is preparing itself. And in the marriage bed, if her husband perceives that her body is showing symptoms of being ready, and he initiates to a greater level, and she wasn't tracking with her body, then that opens up another level of conversation. So it's really interesting.
So fascinating to me. Mary, tell us how people can get a hold of you if they want more information, if they're looking for help, if they want more resources on how to improve their sex life and intimacy in their marriage.
Absolutely. My website is my name, Mary Whitman Ortiz, and that's WHITMAN. Behind me on my shelf, I actually have my 2 books. Why Can't I Talk to Him About Sex? Why Can't I Talk to Her About Sex? Sort of a discovery workbook that you can do with your spouse. I've also had people come through as individuals after they're divorced, or if they're single, just wanting that whole step-by-step process to know how to figure out, I have some hesitation towards sex. What do I need to do to get ready? Because they want to be able to fully give themselves when that beautiful situation in marriage comes up.
So I will put the links to everything in the description below this, so that way they can get a hold of you on your website, as well as if you want to send me the links on Amazon to order or purchase your book, I will put that in the link in the description below as well. Awesome. Thank you so much for coming and talking to me about this, Mary. I think that it's just not a subject that's addressed enough in marriage, and I think that it's so important within the church to be able to talk about this.
We have talked about the number one problem of sexual intimacy in a marriage, and that is lack of desire. We have talked about the number one cause of lack of desire, and that is just simply being fatigued or too tired. Now, Mary brought up a really good point that we don't have a standard to set to what is normal. So my suggestion to you guys as a couple is communicate about this. I cannot stress that enough. It is so vital to be able to communicate with your spouse about your desires, about your wants, about your needs, about your neglects. What are you feeling neglected in? What area do you wish that your husband or your wife would pay more attention to? Do you wish that you had more intimacy in your marriage? Do you desire more intimacy in your marriage? If the answer to any of these questions is yes, communicate that with your spouse. Please communicate that with your spouse. It is absolutely vital that you can have these discussions. As Mary said, she has these amazing resources that can help you communicate better. I will link those in the description below, like I promised, absolutely, so you guys can check those out. If you have any questions, if you want more information, please let us know. I want to let you guys know that we are rolling out our class. We are so ready for our marriage enrichment class. This is a very intensive 6-week course. It is exclusive because we are going to be offering it to you guys live this very first time, and I am so excited for that. If you want more information on that, please email me. My email address will be in the comments below. Thanks again for tuning in. If you like this material, please don't forget to give us a thumbs up, ring the bell, and subscribe so you don't miss another single video like this. Thanks, guys.